supposed to be here, and we ran around without her, and we had her on, but what it is, we never could get her.
Yeah.
And so we need to have her voice here if she's gonna be voted in. Because if we can't hear her voice, then she's not here.
Right.
Okay?
She can't vote.
She needs her, she needs,
That's all you're
She
talking about.
voted in the minutes.
she also needs to have her.
We had a
video on.
quorum anyway. We had a quorum without her
Legally,
votes
she needs
anyway.
to have her
so.
video on.
Well, change the minutes tonight.
Because right now it's just.
Do you have her video?
No, I just have, she just. on
She
the
was
audio.
on, she just couldn't talk. Because her
didn't talk,
name
she didn't
stayed
vote.
up the whole time.
Y'all hear me now?
Tammy, can you turn on your video? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
She needs to turn on her video to be counted present though.
Brandon Johnson said he will be getting on Zoom, but he will be a few minutes late.
Okay, now, you go, what now?
Brandon Johnson, he said he will be getting on Zoom, but he'll be a few minutes late.
But it'll be a few minutes later.
Yes.
So if you're late, and he come in, he's got to be at the first meeting.
Well, he can, I mean, he can come in late. It's just like if somebody walked in late. And I just have a partial attendance.
Ms. Cross, can you turn on your video, please?
I've hit the button like 3 times. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear her, we can't see her.
Can't see.
So as long as we hear, we're okay.
It's saying it's unable to access my camera, so I don't know what I need to do.
She's gonna be a video conference. She has to show video.
She just said it unable to.
Then she's not counted present.
Well, no, she's saying that her, I guess her. Hey, Tammy, is it are you on your phone, what do you want?
I'm on my phone.
Okay. What is it? What message is it giving you?
Huh?
What message is it giving you?
Unable to access camera. Allow Zoom to access your camera from device menu settings, privacy camera. So I gotta go to settings.
What does she need to do, Brittany, in order to activate that?
You have our number? Our phone number?
Yes.
Or I'll call her.
Okay. He's gonna call you, Tammy, to tell you how to do it, okay? I'm gonna give you your number. They're saying unless we can see you, you don't count.
There we go. Now it's coming out.
There she is. You got it.
Okay.
There's Brandon.
Good afternoon.
All right, ready to go? Make sure you spend all that money right. There you go. I didn't everybody turn on your microphone.
Jim, before we start, did I introduce you to Blake yet? This is Blake Hoffman. He is our administrative assistant to John and myself. He's know him, and Mr. Thorpe is a hotel owner, and Mr. Calhoun is a hotel owner in town. So, and then he met Danny last night at the council meetings. I think we all, just so y'all know who everybody is.
Okay, to start with, we need to, down here on this, we have citizen comments on non-agenda items. And so if anybody's tuning in to us, if you want to make any comments on number 9, you need to go to discoverdurant@gmail.com. Again, it's discoverdurant@gmail.com if you want to make a comment on any of these non-agenda items. Okay, let's just go ahead and call this to order. Let's give an invocation. Jen, you want to do the
Be glad
invocation?
to. Let us bow. Father, we just thank you for the many opportunities that you put before us each day. We thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon this community. As we move forward, give us the wisdom to move in the direction that you would have us go. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we'll all stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Debbie Anthony is absent. Charles Calhoun,
Here.
Tammy Cross,
Here,
Brandon Johnson,
Here.
Janet Reed,
Present.
Danny Scher,
Here.
Jim Thorpe.
Here. Okay, we'll go to number 1 on consideration action, approval of the minutes. We'll start with July the 8th, 2020, regular call meeting. Have any discussion on that?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. Janet, got a second?
Second, I'm not understanding what we need to do. If you had somebody that was talking, but you couldn't see them, are they not present?
Okay, what we did a while ago is, and she told me a while ago, we have to give them where they can get on our website. And anybody that wants to go to number 9 on citizen comments on non-agenda items, they can come over, and he'll probably explain it more. They can come over with their voice and ask questions, but go ahead.
Because Tammy is a member of the authority, right? And it was posted on the agenda that she would be via video. We have to be able to see her into the law. So if she had been posted on the agenda that she was attending via teleconference, then we would not have to be able to see her.
well, we figured that out after the meeting, so you just tell me off for that last meeting.
Any more questions?
No, that was a question I had.
Any more
And I
discussion?
second it.
You're seconding the July 8th one?
Yes.
Okay, so we got a motion by Janet, second by Charles. Need a roll call?
Charles Calhoun,
Yes.
Tammy Cross.
Yes.
Brandon Johnson,
I am going to abstain since I was not present at the meeting. So thank you.
Janet Reed,
Yes.
Danny Scher,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Okay, we'll go to B, July the 31st, 2020, a special call meeting. Having discussion on that? We only had one thing on that meeting, I believe.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Janet, and we got a second by Brandon. Need a roll call?
Charles Calhoun,
I was absent. I'm not going to vote.
Tammy Cross, Tammy Cross,
Yes,
Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
Janet Reed,
Yes.
Danny Scher,
Yes.
Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Number 2, review of the DTEDA financial reports in June 2020 from the treasurer.
Okay, the June 2020 financial reports were included in the original packet. We did, even with COVID hitting, come out a little ahead for that fiscal year, and we have gotten the tax in for July, which would have been our May sales. And that one has come in a little lower, which we've been expecting at 19,259.
I've got a question when I was looking at this. When we say July 2020 revenue, it's really 2 months behind. I know that, and the board knows it, but anyone else looking at this would know that.
Okay,
And I'm just wondering if there's some way we put an asterisk with a footnote or something that whoever picks this report up can tell what's going on.
okay, I can check with those that create the reports to see if that's a possibility for us.
So you want to fix it to where it says fiscal month of April or something like that, even though it reads in June, right?
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, Charles. I would look at the on the revenue page, the far right looks like it says single month period. It looks like it's only 30-day look back on that. So I thought it was 60 days as well.
So we get the tax in July, it's reported in June, but it is the sales from May.
Okay.
It's always 2 months behind.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was making sure.
Now, are we talking about the whole financial report? Is that what you're
That's included
asking?
in the packet, yes.
Um,
This is the ending, the whole financial report is ending out the fiscal year of 2020, but they already have the reporting from the sales that were in May that we received in July at the 19,000.
The question I've got is when you look at, I know the city treasurer understands it, and probably the city manager, but I can't look at this and, I'm used to looking at something and say, we spent this much, X amount for this, X amount for that. But the way it's listed here, the only thing I'm really sure about is the interest earnings revenue.
And we had started that report last year that we created in-house. And we had a couple of them that we brought out, and, if you guys had any adjustments you wanted to make, to let me know. And then we agreed that we would start using that report with July. So
I
next
think
month when we
We
start,
discussed this, maybe the last meeting or the one before.
yes,
That you can't look at it and really, unless you understand how the city's keeping books, you can't tell anything about it.
yes. And so
What we've
my
done.
understanding was y'all wanted to start that format at the beginning of the next fiscal year. So when I get July's report, then that would be the report that I would bring. So it would be next month that report would be in there.
Okay. So there's no way for us to really look at this and tell where we spent our money or.
So there is the detailed report.
And
Mr.
where-
Calhoun, is the one that looks like this. That's the detailed report of what was spent
What page
in
is it?
June.
It's going to be right here, Charlie. Close to the back.
You
Where it
mean,
says
you mean
detailed
over here?
listing. Detailed listing. It's page 1. It's going to be on the back. It's on the back. Keep flipping. Okay. Do you mind if I touch that and let me?
No, I don't.
Okay. let me get it pulled up.
So that's the detail listing of what we spent in June, which the prorated audit fees are the audits from the city, part of them doing the books for us. the chamber management, and then our billboard rentals for both Stokely and Massey.
This is
Was-
just, this
Was
is
what
just,
we did in June.
just for the month of June.
That's our detailed for June, yes.
We don't have a sheet that shows the year to date.
We have the overall year-to-date, but detailed listing of year-to-date, no, we do not.
Okay. I just want to be able to pick it up and look and see where we spend our money and,
I'd be happy to get you one.
So you can, on the next report that you give us, you can fix it up to where you can have a year-to-date and show what's going on
Yes,
in this report. right?
yes.
that's the only question I have.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 3 is discuss and consider approval of a proposal for advanced lighting project. So on the lighting project that we were looking at, me and Danny wound up going to him yesterday because it's a committee that has to meet with him before we go to the board. He wants to get with Janet just a little bit more, make sure that last month's meeting was done right and the posting was done right. And he gets that fixed up, then he's going to make a ruling on this request. But we've got to go and you're going to have to get with him and he wants to
He has
make sure everything's
requested,
right.
he has requested those documents and he has received them.
Okay.
They're-
But he wants you to give him a call and make sure all of this is right. He'll ask you a few more questions. He'll look over it again and then he can make a ruling after that.
Oh, okay,
Okay, so you'll have to give the legal counsel a call.
okay.
And as soon as they do that, then we can get this in order. Do what? We're going to have to, I don't know, do we need to table this?
No, I think we need to go ahead and let them do their presentation. And then we don't have a ruling from him at this point, right?
He's not going to give a ruling until he gets back with you on the meeting and the posting and all that.
Okay,
So there's not going to be a ruling done today until he
Okay.
gets back with you and you call him on that meeting agenda, the posting and all that. Once you get that settled, then he's ready to do that. Isn't that right, Danny? And then after he does that, then he'll give the ruling. The ruling is not going to be done today.
Okay,
Until
but-
you get to talk to him and you go over that meeting. with
we
him.
had asked them for additional information. Danny asked for what an expansion would be. And I think that they have that ready to go.
Mhm.
So why don't we go ahead and allow them? Is there anything, John, that would keep them from doing a presentation on that? That way we do not have to table it. We've already got the information.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
Well, I want the committee to decide what they want to do, but I would like to hear the presentation.
We can have the presentation. We just can't vote on it today until we get past our legal counsel.
Right, there's nothing that says they couldn't give the presentation. I mean, the item's already on the agenda, so.
Okay.
As long as our agenda allows that.
Yeah, our agenda allows it, from what I'm saying.
There may be.
As I said,
several
discuss and
people-
consider, so I'm sure they can make a presentation. We just can't make a vote on it today.
There may
until
be
she gets a
several
lawyer.
people that want to speak about it.
Hmm?
There may be several people that want to speak about it.
Okay. Anybody want to speak on this subject?
No, we didn't put it in their packet, but I do have a copy
Do we have
of
extra
it.
copies?
Would you like to look at it?
Turn this in.
Okay, after we came this last time, and it seems like there's some building momentum. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna speak without this, and I know I'm not contagious because I had a COVID test about 2 hours ago, so. It's picked up some momentum, and you guys wanted us to look at actually lighting up more of downtown. So we've gone back, we've redrawn, we've really, and when I say we, I'm talking Stephanie, and I know Janet spent a lot of time on this, really trying to dig into the details of this plan. And the thing that we backed up a little bit is we want to do this right. We don't want to just throw up string lights. We think it still look nice. I want it done right. So does Janet, so does Stephanie. We want to have it engineered designed by professionals. We know we're going to need to drop the poles of the existing street lights down, is what I'm really trying to get to. Is this is going to cost us more than we thought, but this is still absolutely the direction that we need to go. And does, I don't know if everybody has one of these, but if you really get to it, how many of these are up there? Does
We've got
everybody have?
two.
Just
Danny,
have-
Jim, could you let him look at that?
Do you need to look at that?
No, I've seen it. I'm okay.
There's a rendering.
Sure.
Curtis, could you hold that up so Brandon and Tammy could see that, please?
Is there a way that you guys can
Well, I
broadcast
don't
this?
know. I don't know.
There is, but it would have to be.
We'll email you guys a copy. That way you can see it. So
If we were taking a vote today, we need to have that in our
absolutely,
hand.
absolutely. And we're still, you know, like I said, backing up and trying to really do this right. We're going to spend some more money, but again, it's well going to be worth it. Absolutely well going to be worth it. We've backed up and we've thrown some additional ideas of, and I know that I've got some in my backyard, LED lights that you can change the colors of, red, green, blue, white. So Friday night, you have a high school football game. Let's light up downtown red. Let's light up downtown blue on a Saturday night after Southeastern football game. Don't think it's going to cost exponentially more, but it will increase the cost. But again, let's do it right. Let's do it right the first time. And so in that, there are some additional budget numbers that Stephanie has, like I said, worked real hard. We've worked with Theorem to come up and kind of help redesign and really look and see what it's going to do. She's been working with OG&E. There's going to be some costs in replacing those light poles. Unfortunately, you know, we were hoping OG&E would step up and help, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot there. So if you remember that original budget that we'd come up with, which was literally just, you know, Texoma Manufacturing putting up the poles, stringing the lights up, there would be some additional cost of getting OG&E to hook the power up, but 35, 36 was going to be it. It's gone up quite a bit. And there's in here, whenever they said, let's go back and look at doing more of it. So we, instead of just starting at 4th Street, going to 1st, we backed it up, going all the way from 5th to 1st, turn the corner, crisscross the street past Main Street Barbecue, and then single strand wrap Market Square, and then come back in and go north from Main Street on 2nd and 3rd. I mean, that lights up the biggest part of your downtown, makes it very pedestrian friendly, and still hoping that we can come back at some point, you know, after Law Street Brewery is open, wrap around, light up Law Street. We had some discussions with the city about trying to fix trash cans, trying to get police to patrol back there. We know we're going to have to dress that up a little bit because that's going to have to be a significant portion of parking when we start adding bodies. But again, this is what we got to do to increase our sales tax, create downtown. And with COVID where we are right now, we're kind of being, I'm hoping, my hope is we can get ahead of this. We can get a lot of this done before things really truly open back up. Herd immunity, vaccine, whichever way it goes. People really get out. If we have a destination for them to come to, we're going to be solid. And if we can get Main Street or Law Street Brewery and get Tony's project really kind of kicked into high gear, even better. So if you in here, and I'm trying to find where we put those numbers to do that 135 was all of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think it's the second page as the kind of overview.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 135 was the full and.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
there's a number on the second page.
second page,
175.
yeah, the 135 was just Texoma Manufacturing with the bigger project, what the poles and lights and installation were going to cost, not the design, not the architecture, not getting OG&E, not dropping poles. The second page is where we've gone back in. What is it going to cost us to design this and do it right? Make it aesthetically pleasing going down the street so you don't have poles sitting everywhere. So now that what we thought was going to be about 35 to really do it right, dress the whole street up, is going to be closer to about 82. And there's probably some costs on top of that. And that's going to be just going from 4th to 1st. And then if you go and you wrap the block, it gets significantly higher. If you wrap 1st Street, do 2nd, 3rd, you're talking $250,000. I think we can do this in stages. One of the things that I can report is the Industrial Authority has stepped up and voted to financially support the project. Don't know at what level. They want to know what tourism is going to do. I think there's a way that we can get some city people or some private citizens. I know, like I said, I'll be the first one to say the bank will step up. We'll throw some money at it. I still think this is the right project to do. I also know that, as we talked about the last time I was here, you guys are sitting on a pretty good chunk of cash, from what I understand. Last I'd heard it's about $400,000 or $500,000 if ballparkish, if that's right. What was that? 740. Okay. This is a big project, but this is going to bring tourism to downtown. This absolutely is tourism.
And so from First Street to Fourth Street, it went up from 35,000
Went
to
from 35 to
82,000?
82. And if you look at it, there's 22,000 in architectural and engineering services. That's,
What is the request that's being made of this?
well, I'd like tourism to fund the whole stinking thing, but I know that it can't be done all at one time at one shot. But I do think that there is, if tourism will come up with 100 and DIA comes up with 25, we're at 125. If the community will come up with 150, and we'll see how much of this we can knock out at one time. Because I can tell you, if we try to do it in true phases, in 3 or 4 phases, and we make these real small, these costs are going to do nothing but go up. And so the more of this that we can knock out right now, get our downtown ready to go once COVID is done, once it frees back up, the better off we're going to be. It's going to help the tourism because that means more sales tax coming in, more people staying in beds. It's going to mean more money to DIA. It's going to mean more money to the city.
Now, you just mentioned 150 from this group.
Well, no, I said 100 from tourism, 25 from DIA, and the community raised another 25, gets us to 150, and we'll see how much of this we can knock out.
So you're
150.
requesting 100.
I'd like to have 100. Sitting on 740, you guys have got a pretty good little war chest right there. And I don't know if you guys have any other big projects coming, do you? To help stimulate tourism? I mean, that still leaves more than ample war chest left laying there, and hopefully we can wait a year or two, come back in and wrap Lost Street, get some of that pulled in. But,
I also noted in this, that on that very last page of the proposal, that the city has, that they also voted to.
Yeah, city
support it.
council has voted to support the project. They voted to accept the lights as ownership. They've also voted to pay for the power, which, even with an expanded plan, shouldn't be significant, I'd suspect.
Did you ask the city council for any capital for the project?
We haven't asked them directly for money from the project, but it's not beyond me to go ask them to, if the city can come up with a little bit more.
I think though that they did commit to the liability, the insurance, and then the maintenance of those as well, which would be the upkeep. Is that correct?
I know the OG&E and in past has a franchise tax, and a lot of times they will plant those poles and hang those lights. Have you even talked to them at all?
Stephanie has talked to OG&E and not a lot of help there. In fact, if we replace poles that OG&E currently owns with poles that will use the string lights, they don't want anything to do with it. In fact, they want to charge us money to come remove the poles.
So they won't set the poles for you or anything, is what you're saying?
Nothing.
They're out of it.
If you're attaching, they don't want anything attached to poles that they own at all. And so there is thought, and that's a project that Stephanie's been working on for quite some time, is trying to buy some shorter lamp posts, because with the big tall post, it's going to interfere with the aesthetics of the lights up above. I think she's found some, or even I think OG&E will do that for, what'd you say, $2,000 a pole to put in.
So we're really not settled on what it is
We're still trying to work through a lot of details. And like I said, it's going to be a deal to where it's like any other budgeted project. I can go through DCFA and multi-sports complex, Southeastern's construction project. You're going to find things that are going to take you over budget. I don't know how we can budget every piece of this in, but I want to get it as close as we can and get as much of it done with what money we can come up with.
On blocks 1 through 4, you came up last time, said 35,000. How in the world did we get out that far to 82,000?
If you look at page 2, the architecture and engineering is 22,500. I would like to think that that's kind of high, but, and then,
Where did that number come from?
Right there.
that came from Theorem.
From who?
Theorem.
There's an estimate in there from the further back in the packet.
And again, we can go string lights up. It'll still look okay, but it's not going to look the way it should.
So how many blocks is 35,000 going to do?
35,000 at 82.5. If you knocked out the engineering, you're down to 60. And that's doing from 1, 2, and 3 to 4th Street.
Well, that's a big jump, that.
It is a big jump. I'm
That's
a little
really
shocked.
underestimating it.
Well, again, there was a lot of the costs that we came to at first that we knew we didn't have, in the fact of all we had were poles, lights, and installation. And again, I'm looking to you guys for some suggestions, but I think you're doing a huge disservice if you go just throw up those lights up. That's the reason it was my idea to go back and design this properly. We can go have somebody else bid the design and engineering. 22.5 seems pretty steep to do all that. Another 30 to do the rest of it. I mean, you're talking $50,000 just to design it. I think that can be done probably cheaper than that, but these are the bids that we've got.
Well, if we legally can do it, which we don't know yet, we're gonna have it tied down as to what.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll try to get the cost absolutely tied down as tight as we can get it. But again, I can promise you, I've never seen a construction project that went perfectly according to plan. Now we can build fluff into the.
Normally what they do in those construction projects is they put in a miscellaneous. to
Yeah,
take
I
care
mean,
of
that's
all
just
that
building
stuff.
fluff into it. And we're trying not to build any fluff into this at all. There's
Well,
nobody.
there probably needs to be.
And we can go back and design and build that into the bid, but
But
If there's excess of money, where does it go?
it'll still, the way I see this, every penny that comes from anything, any money that's given to this project goes into this project in some way, shape, or form. If there's excess money after phase 1, it goes directly into phase 2.
So if you have 4,000 or 5,000 left over, it doesn't go into.
It doesn't
Main
go
Street,
into Main Street. Nobody gets paid. It sits there and we'll hold it in a separate account. Every penny that's given to this project goes directly to this project. I know it's a big
I
request,
don't
guys.
guess we're ready to make any.
Well, I don't
we
think you weren't ready to vote anyway. Technically this is going to get tabled. But I truly believe that this is something that is the best thing that our community can do for our downtown. Absolutely. You've got Marie's closing down. We need to get more shops open. We need sales tax. We need,
How far away do you think that people are going to come just to see the lights?
let me tell you something. How many people do you think park out at that casino each weekend? That's the tourism dollars that we're spending. The best way you could spend that is trying to entice those people out of that casino downtown for 2 hours every day. The dollar that you spend in Dallas trying to get somebody to come up here just to go to downtown, I don't know how effective that is, but to spend that dollar to try to figure out how to get them out of the casino to get them downtown, that's your captive audience. They're already here. And I think once Tony's place is open, once Law Street is open, and if we do this, getting 400 or 500 people a week downtown.
Yeah, I think if you advertise down Dallas, whether it's on television or Oklahoma City, you can bring some people down and get them here. That's
Also-
advertising too, but that's
I'm-
here or
I'm
there.
not-
We're
I'm
talking
not-
about this right now.
I'm not saying that won't bring some people.
Yeah.
The dollar, the number of people, the number of heads per dollar that you get will be much better trying to get them out of that casino.
Also, if you just Google towns with lights and look, there's not a project like this that we can find that really covers a downtown area.
And
So
Norman
you have districts.
Norman's trying to get something similar to this done. They've gotten one block done and they spent $20,000 because of the way they did it. And I don't know that they're real happy with it. That's one of the reasons.
Who is that?
The city of Norman. So it cost them $20,000. They decided to go in and attach to building structures. So they had to do easements. They had to reinforce buildings. That just creates too many complications in our mind. We think we'd be much better off keeping it on city property, city-owned poles.
I know it's not on to ask this question, it's not on the agenda, but I'm just wondering that if you say OG&E is non-cooperative in the project, but we've got a lot of franchise tax that the OG&E pays into the city coffers.
Mhm.
Have you thought about talking to the city about using that?
I have not.
I mean, there's a lot of money there.
Of course, I know the city's running on a pretty tight budget, but I'm sure I'm more than happy to talk to council about what they're willing to pitch into the project.
I mean, that would tie to the electric.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in that franchise.
There is a lot of money in that franchise tax. I don't disagree with that. But
Tammy, if you could, and I know that you are a merchant in the downtown area, how do you feel like this would improve the downtown area?
I know it would improve a lot. And if we could, you know, once we get the lights in, I think stores would be more willing to be open later after dark. So people would come in, especially with with the brewery coming in, Tony's new business. And I think people would be more willing to stay open later. So you could get people to come in more, you know, and I just think it's a great idea for our downtown. And it's not just going to help the downtown merchants. I think it'll help the hotels. I think it'll help everybody because there's going to be more people coming in because there's going to be more things to do downtown in the very near future.
I know that we have been working on day trips and weekend trips. And we had a pretty good response. Actually had a group out of Lawton that had called us and we were putting together a trip for them. But of course, with COVID, everything has been put on hold. But I think that if we start creating trips that would come in and we actually had something like this to entice them to stay overnight, we could extend their stays.
Yeah. I think it's good for all of us. It is a lot of money and it's hard to, you know, chalk up that much. But I think the return of that investment is far outweighs our cost in the long run. It's going to not so much right up front and it's a lot of money to put out. But just looking at some of the other cities that have done things like this, you know, they're destination places and that's where everybody wants to go. And that's what I want Durant to become, is a destination place for stuff to do on the weekend, you know, go to the brewery, go to the new restaurants. I just think it's a win-win for all of us.
Brandon, what are your thoughts? I know that you were very active in the chamber when you were in McKinney. And I know that we are compared on a daily basis. This is what we'd like to see, you know, downtown McKinney. What are your thoughts in that avenue, along that avenue?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have something like this right from on their side, but it's the local businesses bringing in the attraction and bringing in the people. I mean, it struggled for a while, then all of a sudden, you know, now it's very vibrant down there. You know, my biggest thing, and Curtis and I talked about this a little bit on the DIA meeting, is man, I like the project. I think he has done a fabulous job of visioning and getting this done, but I just don't think the tourism needs to front that big a bill of it. I think it needs to be, you know, community partners all come together. If we think this is the right deal to look at, and we kind of come at it that way. I also believe it needs to be phased. I mean, I think going from 35 to 150 is a big number, and just making sure we like it. I mean, there's not many cities that have it. And he talked about Norman, you know, having one, and they didn't like the way it looked or weren't happy with it. And so
it's the way they did it. It's the fact that they hooked into the businesses' buildings, which created additional costs and also caused some issues and structural in those, you know, tying the wires and things to people's businesses. Whereas we're talking about using poles, staying on city property.
Sure. No, and I think there's learning in that, right? I mean, that's what's huge.
And
They
also,
learning what they didn't do.
I don't think they took that step to go in and engineer it and design it the way we're trying to do. Now, again, we can cut that out and probably still have an aesthetic effect, but my fear is it's going to be cluttered. You know, you're going to have too many poles on the street. You're going to have too many taller lights and too many shorter lights. In my mind, granted, this is a big request. It's a big project, but let's do it right the first time.
Well,
This is a legacy project for this committee, you know, and especially I was thinking it was closer to $500,000, but at 700,000, what are the projects we're working on for tourism with that kind of war chest?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that, but I think we still got to be good stewards, right? I think we all know about what the hospitality business is doing right now, and you got some guys on the committee that know it better than anybody, and so from that is who knows when that thing is going to come back to how we budgeted, and so I think that's where we have to be pretty mindful of what we've got.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying we want to blow the whole thing out, but again, we're talking about a legacy project for the tourism authority. This is something that will be here after each and every one of us. This will be something that will be adding dividends and sales tax to the city for years.
What is the useful life of something like this?
The bulbs have got a 30,000 hour life. So, I mean, your issue is going to be repairs from weather, that kind of stuff. The city's already stepped up and said they would do the maintenance. So the bulbs are not going to be horribly expensive. Replacing pieces of strands, I don't think will be horribly expensive. It's going to be the initial cost of getting it installed is where the big cost is going to be.
How long does the lights last?
30,000 hours.
So you're looking at what, 10 years or so?
Yes, roughly 10 years.
See, I keep looking at the estimate that Stephanie gave us and it's 32,000. Now all of a sudden it's 150,000. She's got down here 12 poles and all of this. And on top of that, the lights come with a 1-year manufacturer, not 10 years.
Yeah,
So all of a sudden they're going to be starting to go out in 2 or 3 years.
Well, I know you can go buy LED bulbs and at Walls or at Walmart or Lowe's, and it's the same thing. It's going to tell you it's $30,000 hour bulb, and it's going to give you a year warranty. I mean,
how did it come from her estimate up to?
Again, you know, there's pieces of this that weren't in that original. That original was just strictly what Texoma Manufacturing gave us to install poles, put lights on them. That was it.
yeah, but weren't you going from fourth to first and a little bit up first, but now it's to fifth plus market or plus second and third.
To roughly do the same thing, you went from 32 to 82, and that's because of trying to design it and try to do it correctly.
So you're not happy with going to starting at 32? You want to 82 or
Well,
150?
82 is only going to get you what we originally planned, was from fourth to first. That's that first. If you look at that second page, phase 1, Main Street blocks 1, 2, and 3, which will get you to 4th Street, is what's estimated to 82, which was the $34,000 bid from Texoma Manufacturing.
And also, I think once that the discussion was held with the leadership from Norman and kind of learning a little bit about what they.
You go back to that original bid and you look here, there's 22.5 in engineering. There is $10,000 upgrading light poles. That's the existing light poles. The labor to uninstall the existing light poles is $10,000. I just found $40,000 right there that wasn't in that original bid.
So
because
to
again,
uninstall, to take out what?
to take out the existing light poles.
What light bulbs?
Because they're owned by OG&E, right?
Are you talking about doing away with the
tall poles, use a shorter pole that gets underneath the lights,
Why would you do that?
because the aesthetics of that's not going to be very good. If you start really trying to design, and that's one of the reasons we did those renderings, if you put that light pole, the brighter light up above the lights that we're trying to string, you're going to negate your effect. And that's part of the reason that I started thinking about this and started talking to Stephanie. If we don't design this right, it's going to look kind of funky.
Has anybody given a thought to taking the things that they're dreaming about and putting it into a master plan for downtown? So what we do
Would
fits
love to do
together.
that. I would love to see that done.
I mean, I can, for years, I've seen, and there's a lot of people probably wouldn't want to do this, but you know, there's brick streets under all this area downtown. And since the highway doesn't run through there anymore, I can see us having what's the best thing next to cobblestone streets and horse-drawn buggies going around under all these lights.
You
I
know,
mean, I'm just saying that.
I completely, you know, that's one of my big issues from the city standpoint for years is we've kind of thrown stuff at the wall, in my opinion, and seen what's stuck.
But
Yeah.
I think this is gonna have to be done by the downtown property owners. Are gonna have to be the force behind getting it done.
So are you talking financially? Because there's no way the
From
downtown
a-
business owners can afford this.
From a planning,
Oh, from a planning, they need to be involved. Absolutely. I have no
I think
issues
they
with that.
need to be the.
Well, and I think that probably that was the driver behind looking to make sure that this was done correctly. Because once you really started looking at, as I started to mention earlier, the Norman project and what they had ran into, there has to be some type of a master plan. And so that does entail an architect and an engineer that can tell us, you have to drill under the surface here. You know, if we're going to do something of that magnitude, I agree totally. I think a plan is great. And I know that Stephanie has been working on something like that.
Well, I can say this.
But everything
Sorry.
we do needs to meld together into a
Absolutely.
plan.
And that's the reason we want to do this design, you know, spend the money up front, get it designed properly,
And the only
professionally.
question we've got here is whether we can legally do anything about it. I'm all for it.
And-
but
and-
it's just,
I completely understand you want to make sure that by law that there's no issues. And like I said, I appreciate and I understand that this is a huge project, but this is a huge project that is going to pay dividends to the city for years to come. It just is. And we will all be much happier if it's done correctly the first time.
Well, I can tell you, I own two buildings in where you're talking about. I own one on Second and one on the third block. And just structurally, I can absolutely see where you do not want to try to tie into the buildings to hang these lights. Because some of these buildings are in horrible shape. And to me, that would be an absolute nightmare. So I think we need if we're going to do it, we need new poles for those lights to string from, not try to do existing buildings at all. Because some of them cannot hold it up. I know that. Mine, because I put so much into them, but into the buildings. But there's some of the buildings that they're falling down, you know. So we need the new poles. And I just think it's a great idea. And I hope that we can figure out a way to work.
yeah, there's already been a couple of the facades downtown fall in the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
You've got several buildings that are in danger of that right now. There's several of them that have.
Not my two.
And that probably should be part of the master plan, shoring those up.
The problem about that is the building owner's the one that's going to have to financially carry that burden. I don't know how you.
Yeah.
There may be other.
I mean, you might be able to do some kind of small grants or low interest loans or zero interest loans or something like that, but I don't know how that fits into.
You may have
I would think that would be
tax
more.
increment financing district.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can remember way back when Main Street started, there was some of that the banks participated in and low interest loans for those building owners to make those repairs.
The statute's allowed to have a tax increment financing district.
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis, is there, other than Norman, is there any other city around here that we could go see something like this if they have it right now or not?
We'll dig around and find. I know the one city that I went to where I really started thinking about it was Steamboat, Colorado.
Yeah.
It's strung up like that. It's beautiful. Of course, we don't have the snow like they do, but those are all strung on poles just like we're talking about. But instead of doing the crisscross, they just kind of zigzag down the block. But we can find somewhere, a similar project.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm a visual guy, so just seeing things and see how it looks. I know just coming from McKinney, most of ours were just small pole lights that were, of course, decorative, and I mean it lit up downtown. But I know there's different options out there, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether this group can do anything but just cheer for you, but we'll find out.
Well, get your legal opinion. I'm happy to come back again next month. We'll keep drilling down on these numbers. We'll find a way we can get as much of this done as we can. And again, I am completely sold on this project, that I think it is absolutely the right thing for us to do. I think it's like I said, it's a legacy thing that this committee can hold on to for years.
Any more questions?
I thought your original numbers were too low. And
Well, like I said, that was just early stuff. And if we just wanted to throw lights up,
and
we
I
can
think
make
your
that work.
I think your original plan was too small. I think if you're gonna do it, you need to plan bigger.
And
And,
we took that and ran with it. And we, like I said,
And I think it needs to be done right. Money spent on design and engineering, you get better results than if you have Bobby Joe down at the corner. Yeah, hey, this is a good idea.
We
Let's
will.
do it.
I'll be much happier with the project if we do it right the first time.
And
It'll be cheaper.
And I believe in using local people if you can. But
Absolutely.
I might would pursue other entities that have done this or experts in doing lighting.
Yeah. And that Stephanie and I both spent some time trying to dig through and find people that had done similar projects, and we're gonna find somebody. I know we don't have anybody local that's done it, but we're gonna find some expertise somewhere.
Because there may be people out there with better ideas than what you have or what I have.
Absolutely.
Something like that. I mean,
I'm the first.
people have done this before.
There's people way smarter than me that have done this.
But I do think they need to plan on a bigger scale, and I mean, even if we have to wait just a little bit to get the money, I mean, you can do it in stages, but if you're gonna do it, you need to go big.
And do it right the first time. Any other questions? I'm happy to field them. Happy to come back next month. We'll keep drilling on numbers. You guys meet with the attorneys and let us know. If somebody'd send us an email and see what the opinion is as to whether we can proceed with money from tourism, which, like I said, I'd be shocked if it's not. This absolutely is tourism. This is bringing people to our downtown.
And Charlie, I have already requested that it be a written opinion from the
Yeah, it
attorney.
needs to be. We need to get a written opinion on that first opinion.
Yeah, he's going to.
And we need to keep a book with our legal opinions in it.
Anything else? I thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks, Curtis.
So Cindy, do we need to table this till next month?
Sounds like it, yeah.
I make a motion, we table it
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion to
until the
table it
next
on-
meeting.
Yes, until the next.
Hopefully,
month.
we'll have an attorney's opinion
Yes.
and know what we can do then.
So we're going to table it, and Charles has got the motion, and Tammy's got the second. We need a roll call.
Mr. Charles Calhoun,
Yes.
Miss Tammy Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Janet Reed,
Yes,
Mr. Danny Scher,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Yes. If there's no problem, I'd like to bring up number 7 and number 4 and just switch time, because he's going to be here for a while if he doesn't. So I want to change and put number 7 up to number 4. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Because James is going to be sitting here for a while. Okay, so we'll go to number 7, discussing approval of a funding guidelines to the Durant Multi-Sports Complex. Could I have you up here? What we're looking at not keeping up the complex. We're looking at, they're having tournaments in here that comes from everywhere from Dallas to Fort Worth to Oklahoma City, and people are coming in. And it brings people into town, to the motels, to the restaurants. And we think we might have to have a lawyer's opinion on this, but we think that we can finance a lot of it that has to do pertaining your tournament. Outside that, we're not into the concession stand. We can't get into that. But, and, just upkeeping the field all the time. But on what's pertaining to that tournament, I think that we'll be able to help y'all. I know that, from what I see down in Dallas, Fort Worth, people start planning this time of year and they started having something in line and putting it online for next year. By the time September, October, November comes in, you've got those tournaments out to where people will literally start filling up your tournament at that time. They plan 6 and 9 months ahead.
Exactly.
I think you know that, but if you just go ahead and explain what you have.
Well, what we're just to kind of give you an idea, some of the things that we're looking forward with, we have recently employed a new parks and recreational promotion director. His first day on the job will be the 24th of this month. A young man with a master's degree. He comes to us out of North Carolina State University. And we're wanting to bring him in for very much like what you're talking about. How are we going to promote this complex? We feel like that with his background, from what we looked at as far as he has a heavy computer background in design and those sort of things, we think he'll be a real asset to doing just what you're talking about. I know personally from being around tournaments I traveled from one end of this, creation to another just about, and we really have a good facility. We have got to get better at the organizational side of it. I think we're way too cheap also when we have a lot of these out of town ball clubs coming in here. And we recently found out that sometimes they will book our field for $200 to hold that field. If they get a better offer, they forfeit the $200, but we have lost the opportunity to book someone else in that meantime. So I really think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve that facility. I know City Manager John Dean and I have looked at physical improvements that we want to make. We want to improve some lighting and the overall care of the entrance to the park, everything involved. And then we have other facilities that we want to look at too. That we want to, we have Billy Miller, we have the Keithley Park, we have Leonard Morgan, all these parks. If you're going to host a big tournament, you're going to have to involve more than one park. Because I know when we were playing showcase tournaments, a lot of times we would play showcase tournaments on 3 different fields within one community. For instance, Craig Ranch, which is down around Frisco area and down in there. We would have to play on multiple fields, to get in your preliminary games. And then as the brackets came down, they came to the main complex, and that's where your championship rounds were played. So we're looking at it as an overall concept. And like I say, I think this young man that we're going to have coming in will be a really good asset for us to help us be the focal point of reaching out. I know in his interview, very well-spoken young man, very cerebral in his thoughts, so I really think he'll be an asset to us as far as putting this together. And the fact that he's been involved with a major college athletic program is really advantageous to us, I think.
Well, I know you can do baseball, softball, especially 10U, 12U, 14. And I know it's going to be dependent on the size of the tournament. But do you're going to have to put it out on the internet and all that.
That's correct.
Do you have any what the cost would be for putting on one of these tournaments?
We don't know yet. We haven't gotten that far into it. It's going to depend on how much advertising you do. I think the thing that we're seeing is a lot of times if you get within the right groups, then those groups will then come as a unit to play here, you know. But you've got to market that to figure out, you know, who you could bring in. I know we have some promoters that come in sometimes and all they do is pay field rentals for us and then they get the gate and everything else. We don't want to do that. We feel like we're losing a lot of money there.
Have y'all considered, I'm sure you have, because it's something that's gonna come up. There'll be some people that'll say, we can't get our kids in there and we paid for it from here in town.
That what we've done so far,
And that'll need to be
what we've,
answered in some way.
what we've done up to now is we've allowed Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for league play. Your tournaments they're held on the weekend. Most times when we were playing, it would be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That makes sense.
And you would play your initial rounds on Friday. You might play all day, but up into the night. And then you played with double elimination tournaments. You started losing personnel on Saturday, or teams on Saturday. And then by Saturday night, your championship rounds were pretty well set. You know,
Are the local people accepting that kind of a schedule?
that's pretty well how it's been done, and we've not really had any problems with it. Now, they can rent them as well. Locals can rent them, you know. They're not exempt
Will the
from
rent
being
be
able to do
will the
that.
rent be the same for the locals as it is for somebody from Frisco?
Anytime we are charging like that, we're going to have that approved, what our fees are, and keep those fees published, you know, so that they're the same for whoever wants to come, you know. But again, the misnomer is that, well, my quarter cent, you know, pays for that. Your quarter cent pays for the land. It does not pay for the facilities, nor does it pay for the electricity, nor does it pay for the employees. That's over and above that, you know. So, but we really think, Charlie, that with bringing someone in that's had experience in that, we really think that's going to be advantageous. And I think we're also missing out. We have 3 soccer fields that are like regulation. We've got plenty of land out there. We can make more of those, you know. And so we think that's something we might want to do as well. We want to improve the overall park situation as a whole, you know.
Now, that's really a gem that's out there if we can just figure out how to
It is.
put it in a set.
I don't think we've had the right plan. I don't think we've had the right personnel. I'm just going to be blunt honest with you. I think we need to retool and move forward.
James,
with
I'm
that.
really glad to hear you say what you did about the rate,
Yes,
about
ma'am.
putting a schedule and a rate together. If we have that, that gives us something to market.
That is correct.
And you're exactly right. You know, the tax dollars bought the land.
That's correct.
But
Still
they don't-
buying the land.
Still buying the land. Still buying the land, but they did not. They do not.
Pay for the
Yeah.
improvements. I mean, the tax dollars paid for what's there right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Not-
But it doesn't,
Not paying for that piece.
no, sir, not at all. You're exactly right, Danny. Yeah.
So you're going to come back to us when you get a plan together.
Right. Well, what I'd like to do next month, again, like I told you, our new promotional and parks coordinator will be here next month. So I'd like to bring him at least and let you meet him. Any plan you put together, if it's a good plan, it's not going to be something that you just do overnight. It's going to take some, to me, and I don't know, maybe you asked earlier, but it's just like on the deal with the lights. I really support that. But sometimes you can go look at somebody else, what they've done, And that kind of helps you move forward, as putting your plan together. And I think, again, I was fortunate enough with my children and all to be able to be involved in even D1 athletics, and to the point that we traveled all over creation, So I know we can do better. We actually have a good facility, but I know we can do a lot better.
Well, I think as soon as you can get some numbers together on what these tournaments is going to cost,
Mhm.
and then us look at it and check with the lawyer and see what we can give you. The farther out you can go from April or May or March or April from next year, the easier you get to fill up your tournament slots.
That,
So if you can look at that and come back next month with your management, and let's see what we can do and help you on that.
once you get known, once you put on a good tournament, word of mouth helps you tremendously. And I know there are other city-owned facilities around Hatbox and Muskogee, places like that, as far as to give you an idea of someone in Oklahoma that I know about. Broken Arrow. They play every weekend and there's people coming from everywhere to play those tournaments.
And this would bring in a lot of sales tax dollars.
It's amazing how
because
many-
we're talking about restaurants, hotels, anything.
It's
concession
amazing
stands.
how many people travel for little girl softball.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing.
Yes,
It's really competitive.
yes.
you
So
know.
you'll come back next month then,
I'll come back.
maybe with some numbers and stuff?
Yes, and I'll bring Caleb is the young man's name that'll be our new coordinator, and we'll bring him so you can meet him.
Got any more questions? We'll see you next month.
It's a plan. All right.
Thank you, James.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going back up to number 4, discuss and consider approval of 2020-2021 advertising proposal. That has to do, I guess, with the road signs and television, but here she comes.
Yes, so we brought back everything that we discussed last month, including the before the movie that is out of Choctaw in their district. So for the 15-second ads in there before the movies for 6 months, that's a $318 a month. We did bring back what Mix 96 came and presented last month as well, that $9,225, which was for their sports season. We did talk to them today and they said, of course, we all are still completely unaware of what's going to happen with sports season. And so they'll be able to update that as they know. And then also has the Oklahoma City and the Dallas markets for commercial. Those roughly ran for a commercial in those markets at $5,000 a week. So we would be looking at spending $20,000 to $25,000 a month.
And those are all the major, they were running pretty consistent across the board, the major networks
Yes.
debuting 9, 5, 11.
Yes, it was K4, which was Channel 4 in Oklahoma City, Channel 9, and then NBC DFW. So that's the one down in Dallas. But we did get a proposal from Discover Oklahoma. I'm sure a couple of you have been interviewed by Discover Oklahoma in the past. It's a TV show that runs on Saturdays and it runs up pretty much all across Oklahoma. They're in markets in Oklahoma City and Lawton and Tulsa. They run every Saturday. And they brought us back a price. It's the one that it was emailed right before the meeting. Brandon and Tammy should have gotten the email right before the meeting for that one. And then those here, we have printed copies for you.
Jennifer, can I back up just a minute and ask a question?
Yes.
On the advertising, on the television advertising out of the Metroplex, both Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Dallas, they ran very close, but it was about $5,000 a week, which is
Yes.
going to be close to $25,000 a month
Yes.
per station if we go with that.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many spots do you get for that? 5,000 a week?
they had it in their proposals. It's, each one was a little different, but roughly 4 to 5
Now, the 5,000 is just for one station?
for each station. Yes, yes.
I
So
would seem to
on,
look at, I would seem to look at maybe, sometime we don't need that much advertising, but I'd say in the fall, maybe in October, November, December, and January, February, and March is where we need a lot of advertising for this part, because summertime, it's done good. So we don't need advertising all the way around. We only need it maybe 2 or 3 months in the fall, and 2 or 3 months in the, maybe in January and February is what we need.
yes,
We don't need it all the way around.
Seasonal, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Seasonal,
Yes.
okay.
yes. And the one for Discover Oklahoma that we sent, I do want to point out because they requested it. They are running a BOGO special right now. So if we did go ahead and at least approve, even if we didn't run the ad, if we did go ahead and approve to do that one, on the second page of that, down at the bottom is where he put that. So if we buy 6 segment sponsor ads, we would actually receive 12 for the same price. And so with Discover Oklahoma, one thing to consider is the people that are watching the show are people who want to travel. They're watching the show to look for somewhere to travel.
And with the marketing plan that OTIA, with the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department is rolling out, they are doing a stay and play, stay in Oklahoma, travel
Play.
around, see what we've got to offer.
Yes.
I can't tell how much, what you're talking about, how much money you're talking about on like Discover Oklahoma. These numbers pretty small.
They are pretty small. So for a 30-second ad, it would be at $530.
Is that,
And so with the special that they have, that would put us at, if we went for the special and did, asked for 12, but got the 6 of them for free, that would bring us at 3,180. And that's for a commercial in every Saturday.
What is our budget for advertising this last year? What's the total amount?
So we have approved 42,500.
And that encompasses what?
Everything?
That was-
Everything. And that's why we have next on the agenda to do an
Are you
amendment. That
talking
way
about
with
the
what
trade
we
shows?
approve,
Yeah.
do what?
Are you talking about the trade shows, all the advertising with the?
No, this is like for our billboards, and for the digital marketing that we approved last
How
month.
much of that are we spending at the present time?
At the present time, we've spent it. That's
20
why we
27,000
have
is-
the amendment on the, do it.
27,000 is going for the digital every year, right?
Yes, and then we have our billboards that we pay them monthly, and then we kind of earmarked in case we want to change the vinyl on those billboards as well.
So number 4 and number 5 ties in together, discussing approval to amend the 2020, 2021 advertising budget. So we're pretty well just,
So really, it
Completely.
was just what we decide on as far as which avenues of advertising we want to take over the next fiscal year, then we can amend the budget to go ahead and be able to earmark monies to these advertisements.
And if you remember, when we did the budget, it was before the COVID situation,
Mhm.
when we actually were working off of the prior year numbers that we had, not only the numbers, but the income, the expense and the income both. The last 4 months has totally changed the scope of that.
yeah, and with the COVID-19 like that, it's, we need to be as aggressive as possible. I still think, and I think on this advertising budget right here, it shouldn't be 42.5, it ought to be like 175,000. I think shouldn't be putting at least $75,000 to Dallas, 75 to 100, and in the Oklahoma City area, about 50,000, along with, tied in with the Discover Durant and all that stuff, with a total of about $150,000 on our advertising. I'm very serious right now because with this COVID-19, it's did a job on all of us businesses. And we need this stuff bad. We don't need $2,000 going out on advertising.
Chairman,
And we've got the money in the
I
deal.
think Brandon Johnson had a question.
Yeah, do we have a copy of the budget anywhere? I didn't see it in the pack, or it's in the financials, not 2021's budget.
They were in, I can't recall what month off the top of my head.
They were in June and July, but
June and July's.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were in those packets, but I did not put this year's budget in this month's meeting.
but if you look at the one, God, I think there was one that goes, that actually shows what we've done year to date compared to our budget.
For me, it's almost, I mean, we almost need like I keep going back to this, but almost kind of summary page. And without seeing, because I think if we're going to amend this budget, there's probably other areas we can amend to or take from, right? I mean, I think from a trade show perspective, I'm not sure how many of those are going to happen anytime soon. And so I think instead of, I guess, and apologize if I guess we can grab at the last meeting, but yeah, I think we need that budget to kind of come up with an idea of where we're going to pull it from and what we're going to do. And I would even say on the advertising side, it was very difficult for me to find out exactly what we were getting. And so it's almost like, hey, if it's news, if it's Channel 5 down in Dallas, here's exactly what we're getting and here's the price for that, those commercials. And so that's just my take on it.
Jennifer, that is the budget versus actual.
That's just on the revenue, not on like what we have for each
But it shows
account.
what percentage of the budget for starting with July.
But again, that's the revenue that we got, not the like detailed budget of
Right.
like expenses.
Right. Income or expense.
Right.
I think we're way low at 42.5 with, I mean, we
I
need
agree
to
with
get
that.
the best price on television advertising, on billboards and all this. We don't want to waste money. We want to be frugal with it. But 42.5 in this COVID-19 area is just way low when we have the money and sitting in the bank.
I think this is one of the most important items that we do
It is.
is this committee, is the advertising.
We got the
Brandon,
money.
was I understanding that what you were wanting to see was the line items for the budget before we looked at?
Yeah, I think because I can't see, because if I look at the financials, I'm just looking at last year, right, from 19 and 20. I'm not seeing 20 and 21 for it, and so just seeing what some other areas that we could pull from, or maybe not, kind of what that looks like. I mean, we're just in a different time, and I think we all realize that, and so our standard marketing, it might look a little different now. So I'm just making sure we're thinking through everything. 'Cause I know when school gets back, it's going to be a little bit different than it was this summer, as Jim pointed out. So just kind of making sure we're using our money wisely.
And I'm not saying 150, I'm saying up to 150.
You
You know,
did
you don't have
look-
to take
I'm
it all.
sorry.
You got to have a good plan.
You did look at resources, budgets to pull those, line items to pull those from, correct? To increase the advertising budget.
I mean, I did, like our fund reserve that we have for next year. Sorry, I'm a little blank. There was 85,000 was just in our fund reserve.
So are we on number 4, discuss and approval of 2020-2021? Are we still looking at staying at 42,500? Are we going to number 5 and amend the advertising budget?
Well, on this one, if we can request at least a X amount of dollars for radio, X amount of dollars for television, X amount of dollars for billboards, to at least get an idea of what, then we would be able to know exactly how much we would need to amend the budget for.
Have you calculated that just based on the advertising that you've been able to put together cost?
Like a grand total? I mean, I
No.
have like what each one is and they're included in the
No,
packet.
You showed me a figure and we discussed it. That it would take to just cover just the bare advertising that we had done, and that was 72,000. which was
Yes.
30,000 short of the budget that we currently have.
Yes, but that was not including any television. That was just the before the movie and the radio.
Okay, that's what we're needing to know.
Okay.
What will be the commercials on the television? Will they help us create that, or what will be the content?
Is production included in the cost?
So production is not included in the cost. Each one of the television stations has given us a rough estimate that production would be an additional $500. And then they would help us produce the content for it.
Have you thought about having a commercial made by someone local? And there are some local people here that can help us produce an excellent video or commercial that we then take it and just send it to each TV station.
I did, and I reached out to Homebird Studios on a rough estimate with her, and they were all for just like one location shot. She also came back at about a $500 production.
Well, I mean, there's, I think I've mentioned this before. There's somebody that's local, who's Jason Ward, and can't think of his name. But there's a couple of guys here in town that I'm telling you, they make amazing commercials. And then like what we do for the Copper Kettle is we have them make it. They come in and then we send it to Channel 10, we send it to Channel 12, and they just play what we send them.
Okay.
I mean, he'll do all the editing and all that kind of stuff. They do all that. And then you just tell him how many seconds that you need it to be. And then he fixes it. He just, emails it to them.
I do know that production cost with another organization that I'm working with, that we have already priced video, and it's anywhere from $500 to $1,500, depending on the content you put in it.
But the better quality that you get, the more people, I mean, I'm talking with the lighting and all that kind of stuff, makes a huge difference.
And I agree, Tammy.
Huge difference. And then somebody just walking in, shooting a couple of, spots and then just throw it on. You need somebody that's professional, that knows all about the lighting and everything and the wording and all that to attract more people to it.
It has to be professional. You're right.
Yeah,
Okay, now let's
absolutely.
look at number 4. Are we going to go ahead and stay with the 42.5 and then go to number 5? So let's just discuss and consider approval of the 2020, 2021 advertising proposal at 42.5. Anybody want to stay at 42,500 for this next year? Is that what this is about, right? It stays at 42.5.
I've got a question before we take a vote on anything. The things that you've mentioned, one of them was the cinema advertising.
The cinema, yes, sir.
I don't think the cinemas are running the same
They're not.
way that they were before the China virus.
The
So they are.
Sherman hadn't even opened back up, and it's been 6 months or
This
5
is-
months.
This, that they sent us, this quote that they sent us is strictly for the district. And the district is back showing movies. Because they're showing like $1 or $5 movies. And it's just like Mr. Armour said, that's one of the perfect places for us to put some advertising money, is those people who are out there at Choctaw and trying to get them to come into downtown.
But are they allowing the theaters to fill up, or is it just 25% or 50% or what? I mean, it's probably not the same 175,000 number right now.
So we asked for this quote last month's meeting, and so that was with the COVID, half of the theater shut down.
That's pretty much in detail to find out for sure.
Yes, and it even, I mean, he put in the email like this is their special promotional packaging for the theater reopening.
Well, I guess the question I'm asking is, are we going to be showing it 175,000 plus, or are we going to be showing it the 50% of that, or less?
I think the one thing now, though, is if we increase the budget, it's going to allow us to look through each one of those. But if we don't amend the budget, to put more money into that advertising account, then we're not going to be able to expend anything else.
Yeah, now, let me explain. On number 4, if we consider just leaving it like it is at 42.5, we've already got digital going out at $27,000 a year. You're literally, you can just forget all this talk about putting it anywhere else because we don't have any advertised money until we amend it at the next one. So what I need to know, do y'all want to leave the advertising budget at 42.5 this next year?
I think we ought to increase it.
Well, then I need the motion or something on this to, where we can just,
Well, do we need to,
We need to do some
do we need,
master planning on how much we're going to spend for what.
yes, but we got to get through this one first. And are we going to keep it at 42.5?
I say no,
And then you want to make a motion that we
that we.
raise it, right?
We raise it. And I don't know what to raise it to until
I
I
know.
see some numbers.
I know. So we're talking about, okay, so number 4, you're making a motion to raise the advertising budget. We got a second on that?
So
those are,
what are we raising it to though?
Yeah.
yeah,
Do what?
that's actually advertising proposals that
Okay.
she just presented. Number
Okay.
5 is the amendment.
Yes, number 5 is amendment. All we're voting on the 42.5 for this next year on number 4.
No, on number 4, we're just asking for consider of approval of the different types of proposals. So the cinema, the radio, billboards.
Okay, so we're just leaving that there.
So if we want to table that until we can decide how much we want to amend the advertising budget for, then we can.
So what we're saying
Hey,
is,
Jennifer, can we go ahead and I mean, I think definitely table until we get a commercial created like Tammy was talking about. Can we go ahead and approve to get a commercial started?
Yes.
Is everybody okay with that? That way we're not 30 days behind?
So with that though, we haven't picked exactly who would produce the commercial on that.
Do we know what we want for content?
Exactly.
Well, and also we don't know the market we're going into. And you kind of have to know the target market that we're after before and I think it would be fine to do that, Brandon. I think that's a great idea because we're going to have the product ready to go, as Tammy said, to just put into it. But
I mean, I think DFW is your market.
well,
I mean,
I
it's
think totally.
a whole lot closer than Oklahoma
Mhm.
City. So
Yeah, but keep in mind, like for the Copper Kettle, from Edmond, Norman, Oklahoma City, all that, they're especially in the summer, and I know we're fixing to hit fall, but you would not believe how many people come in our store. We have as many, if not more, from the Oklahoma City, Norman,
really,
and yep, but we don't hardly get anybody from Tulsa.
what's driving that, Tammy? You see anything? Is it the lake or what? What are
Yeah.
you seeing there?
The lake.
The lake.
The lake, yeah, absolutely. And we get it, and it's crazy. I mean, we don't ever see anybody from Tulsa, ever. It's very, very rare. But we get tons from Edmond because we ask, well, where are y'all from? And they always tell us, and it's a lot from the Oklahoma City area. And we do get a lot from Dallas too.
Yeah.
So I think both markets are equally important. I really do.
Yeah, that's fair. I appreciate you sharing that.
I highly recommend that we do advertise with Discover Oklahoma. Tammy, I think you and Danny both can speak to that, but just their pool and showcasing the businesses that we have.
Well, I can tell you this much. When we were on Discover Oklahoma, it was probably, I don't know, for the first month or two, tons of people came in the store. Well, we saw you on Discover Oklahoma. We just came to see your store. Okay. And then it was up as much as 6 months later. And this lady said she would every week, she watched it every week. She wrote down where she wanted to go to what towns. And it took her about 6 months, but she came in and said, well, I saw you on Discover Oklahoma. So, and she was from like, I don't remember now where she was from, but it was way off. And she had put that on her calendar that, that's where she wanted to come, was to see our store. So Discover Oklahoma is, it's amazing how many people watch it. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it very many times, but a lot of people do. They watch it every week. and then they mark their calendars and decide which towns they want to go to. So I think Discover Oklahoma is a big one.
Well, I think one thing too, it's just started airing at 6:30 on Saturday through 10. And the other time was like 5:30 a.m. in this area. So it's
Right.
also going to be airing in the North Texas area as well.
Yeah.
And they have a sale on, and that's why I highly recommend that we do something with that and move forward in that advertising market.
Well, anytime you're going to get free spots, take it.
Then on a billboard down in Dallas.
I agree with you, Danny, on that.
So what are we going to do at number 4? Discuss, consider approval of 2021 advertising. What do you want to do?
We discussed billboards, I think, at the last meeting.
Yes.
Regular meeting down in Dallas, electronic one.
We did, and we didn't make a decision then either.
Some of the ones are high, $3,000 or $4,000 a month. We're looking into some other ones, but some of it's ridiculous. But what are we doing with number 4?
Well, I made my suggestion. If you need a motion to raise it, I don't know what to raise it to because I don't know what we're going to be doing.
You can raise it up to a certain place and that's it. You don't have to use it all. But we're not there yet. We're at discussion.
So what if we make a motion to approve Discover Oklahoma, and then we could table the rest of them until we get an idea of content and everything for our commercials? Everybody okay with that?
So you want to table number 4?
No.
Now I want to approve the Discover Oklahoma advertising, but everything else we can revisit maybe next month once we get information on cost of a commercial and content of the commercial.
Brandon,
Do we
may
have
I
any more- do we have
request
any
a
more money?
limit on that?
Do we have any more money to do that? I thought you said we were already,
That's why we've got. to
That's
do
why
the
we have
amendment
number
on
5 to be able to at least amend it so we can approve so we can put in what we have approved today, and then we can come back and add to next month on that.
so he's saying.
Discover
take the
Oklahoma.
Discover Oklahoma, but to do that, we're going to have to amend the budget, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying, Brandon?
Yeah, because what were we talking? What's Discover Oklahoma? 5?
I mean, 5,000 would be a good limit for us.
That would probably take us through 3 months, actually.
Yes,
On Discover Oklahoma?
yes.
And so once you just increase budget by 5,000 for right now until we get to Charles' point, just a good feel of what else is needed. That we're just doing this one time.
Are you making that a motion, Brandon?
I'll make it a motion. I'll make a motion to approve Discover Oklahoma for 5,000 on this one. If we want to go ahead and get 4 over with, and then on 5, we'll increase it the same amount.
And table the amendment to the advertising budget till next month? You can't?
We have to raise that by 5,000.
Okay.
So can I make a motion for both items in one motion? Is that fine? I see her shaking her head, maybe.
It
No,
has to.
We'll have to
Two
go to
different-
each
Cindy, I
motion
don't
on
know
the
if they heard
agenda.
you or not.
Okay.
Cindy
Well,
said it is 2 different agenda items, so it needs to be 2 different motions. Cindy, real quick though, to raise that budget, do they need to specify what other account those funds are coming from?
No, I think just the amount, if they have the amount in there, I mean, and Chen will figure that out.
Okay. So it would just need to be 2 separate motions on that, Brandon,
So what
because
does
it's
amendment
2
need to
separate
be?
agenda items.
What does the amendment need to be, Cindy, on that?
That should be the same amount as you need, like for number, if you doing 5,000 for number 4, it should raise the budget by 5,000 so you can.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right.
what-
So number 4, let's start with that one first. I'll make a motion to approve Discover Oklahoma for up to $5,000 for advertising.
And I'll second it.
that's number 4.
Yeah,
Okay, anybody got a second? Janice got.
Tammy second.
I seconded it.
Good deal. So got Brandon making a motion, Tammy seconding, and then the roll call.
Mr. Charles Calhoun,
Yes.
Ms. Tammy Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Janet Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Danny Share,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Now we're going to number 5, right?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion here to increase our advertising budget for
Can I say
up to $5,000.
Can I,
Yes.
can I say something really quick? And I
Yep.
want Cindy's opinion on this. If we go ahead and amend that to a dollar amount other than just the 5,000, then next month, we will not have to go back and go through each one of these to raise it.
Mm.
In other words, if we raise that budget by 75,000, if we vote to amend that, would that work, Cindy?
Yeah, you can raise it as much as you want.
But you don't have to use it all. You just
No, you don't
raise
have to
it
use
and
all.
whatever you use is fine, right?
That way, it's gonna save us from having to go back each time we
Exactly.
need an
I don't
individual.
think Ken was to keep amending
No.
the budget, so.
I like raising 100.
So, I mean, shoot for the
Is-
stars.
Is there a procedure that statutes say we have to go through to amend our budgets?
We're doing it, correct, Cindy?
That's what we're, yes.
Yeah,
We don't have to make any kind of public posting?
well, it's posted publicly once the meetings are approved, it's what I understand.
And do we need to have the amount on the agenda that we're proposing to raise it to?
We got it on the agenda today.
Not according to Ann Chin, because the last time we did this, she was the one that instructed us on how to do it.
I just want
Yeah.
to make sure we're doing this.
I'm not against the budget change by no means, but my issue is we have nothing in the packet talking about what our budget is. Our 2021 budget.
But that budget was approved 2 months ago.
And what was it 2 months ago? How much?
Our advertising budget 2 months ago was 42.5.
Okay. So it's 42.5 and y'all are talking about taking it up to 100.
I'd like to make a motion that we take it to $150,000 so that we don't have to go back
Yes.
over and over and over and over. And if we don't spend it, we got an excess in the account at the end of the year.
And I'd like to make a second to that. So I got Charles making a motion. I second it. We need a roll call.
Okay, I'm not trying to muddy the water, but I think Brandon already had a motion on the floor.
That's fine. I'll take mine off. That's fine. Yeah. Just stick with this one.
Do you know the amendment, raising up $150,000 is what we're doing?
Can Jim
For this
second that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're good.
Mr. Charles Calhoun,
Yes.
Miss Tammy Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Janet Reed,
Yes,
Mr. Danny Share,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Let's go to number 6, discuss and approval for television advertising, Oklahoma Shakespearean Festival grant funding.
as you
That's a
recall, you asked me to call Riley and ask her about that. She is working on another proposal. We have not given them the money.
Okay.
They have not received it.
Okay.
So next month, hopefully.
Are
So
they
they table
going to
that?
continue with the festival as scheduled or?
Not the festival, no. That was canceled, but she's trying to work it into another project that she's doing.
And so they're gonna have to bring another proposal up, so we can't vote on this now. So I guess we table this. We have to vote on this?
Do we have to vote on the table?
If you can table it, you can do no action.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just table it then. Okay, so we're going to discuss and consider approval for funding guideline to the Durant multi-sport complex. That's already been done. And so we're doing the 8 Durant Area Chamber of Commerce activity report. And I guess you did a lot of that a while ago, didn't you?
Yes,
finish it
but
up.
the report was included in the packet or also emailed out earlier today. Just a few things. We are still continuing to update the website. Fingers crossed, because we've been doing some internal coding to get a directory going. And of course, the meetings with the attorneys that you've done, the digital advertising, we started working with marketing techs on the digital advertising that was approved last month. And he sent over a report that was also attached to mine. And our digital ad should start going out next week on Facebook and Google.
Real
Any-
briefly,
Anything else?
Jennifer, could I just request that you send out the budget, the approved budget to all of the committee members,
Yes,
just as a standalone item?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the chamber report? Any more questions? All right, then we'll go to number 9. On number 9, it says citizen comments on non-agenda items. So we're asking again, citizen comments on non-agenda items. We gave you the discoveryduran@gmail.com earlier. Anybody have any questions?
There were no emails.
What?
No emails were submitted.
All right, we got old business? Any old business? Any new business?
I make a motion with adjourn.
I second.
Okay, we got a motion by Charles and a second by Janet to adjourn this meeting. Okay, got a roll call.
Mr. Charles Calhoun,
Yes.
Miss Tammy Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Janet Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Danny Share,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Thorpe.
Yes, go ahead and turn off your microphones.
All right. You have a great evening.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Okay, remind me of your name? Flip. It may take a couple of times. Okay, good. And, do you have a card so I can get your, because I normally email Cindy all the agenda stuff. Okay, yeah, if you have something to write down, I'll do that. Charlie, if you're over there, that's got 4 in a corner. Okay, so Cindy.
That's what it would be.
Okay, so do I need to email your?